I do think it says a lot about your morals and your values too, on an extent, like to an extreme extent. There, of course, are those outliers, like you said, the theoretical woman that had a very promiscuous past and has, either like come to some sort of religion and had a change of heart or some other circumstance in their life. Of course, there are those people, but there's not like a huge amount of them compared to like with that past that have come to like a huge change of heart, like a drastic change of heart. A lot of them continue with those types of habits.
Fair, but I see a lot of women, especially on social media now, they're coming forward a lot saying like, especially with this whole empowerment thing we're seeing within feminism, a lot of girls who are teens, early 20s, college, they felt empowered by sleeping with multiple men or doing things like that, and then they get to their late 20s or early 30s and they realize, oh, I was just doing those things to fill a void and actually got nothing off of it, and they do change. And I feel like if anything, it's more women who will come to that realization than men would that are promiscuous in that way.
100%.
But it overall breaks down to what I said in the beginning, that's why you just need to shoot in your league. If you are a girl with 100 bodies, you best be dating a man who has over 100 bodies. Like it's that is the truth. I will admit that in a relationship, for it to work, I do believe the woman has to have a smaller body count than the man. Yeah. But I don't think it has to be under 10. That's what I'm saying. Like it's relative to the man's body count.
No.
Hers has to be less, but it doesn't have to be 3% of his body count. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do agree with that, but I think that they're like the way that we phrase it a lot of the times in terms of saying like, oh, body count doesn't matter, it shouldn't matter.
It matters.
It absolutely does matter, but by saying and like bringing up the arguments for like it not mattering or like trying to justify it, basically gives people an incentive to participate in it when it does not add any sort of value to your life to like have a high body count or participate in hookup culture. It adds no value to your life long term. And eventually just hurts you in your personal relationships.
It's only a very small percent of people who find, especially women who just find pleasure in just having casual sex. Yeah. I think there's more women who are trying to convince themselves that they feel that way. So I do agree that a lot of women are hurting themselves by participating in this, 100%. But I don't think that it's fair to say that all men want virgins or all men want women with only 3+ bodies, because that's just simply not true. A lot of men don't care as much as you make it seem. If it was true, then we wouldn't see all these porn stars wifed up. We wouldn't see all these strippers getting, and I'm not even saying by like low men. We see billionaires taking strippers out of the strip club and putting a ring on their finger. So it's not all men that care about body count. So Drake's baby mama wouldn't be a prostitute.
Yeah, I'm not saying all men, but I think the majority of men, even if they don't want to recognize it or don't upfront know about their conscious or it's an unconscious bias that they have against it. I told my boyfriend I was going to bring this up at some point because it was a really great argument that or conversation I had with him. He had previously dated somebody or a girl with a body count of roughly 40, and he essentially said that he didn't care about it. And then I proceeded to have a conversation with him about it, and he kind of backtracked and said, oh, well, because she told me her body count was that high, I proceeded to not take the relationship seriously.
So he did care.
Exactly. Yeah. So he did care. He didn't realize that he actually cared, but...
Is his body count under 40?
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I mean. But, a man who has a body count of, say, 60 or 80 or whatever probably doesn't care about her 40. Because I've met guys, too. It's like my friend, he said the same thing. He was dating a girl who had a body count of, around 30, and his was, in the teens. Mm-hmm. And it was on his mind all the time, in the back of his mind all the time. She had hooked up with some of his friends before. I totally get that.
See, I think even if it is a guy that has a body count of say 80, seeing a girl with a body count of something like 40, I think it still would play a part in how he viewed that relationship.
Possibly. Yeah. Also, I just think they could understand it more, maybe conceptualize it a little better, because they've laid down with as many people before, versus somebody who hasn't slept with 40 people is like, how could you even, lay down with 40 people? They can't even conceptualize it. Yeah. So
I also just would say though, I think you mentioned something about you think it's better for men to have maybe not an excessively higher body count, but you think it's better for men to have a bit more experience. Is that?
I'm saying a relationship will not work out if a woman has a higher body count than the man in the relationship. Yes.
I agree with that. Yeah. And is that just coming from the guy being less sexually experienced, basically? Is that kind of the angle?
He becomes insecure. The man cannot fathom the fact that the girl he's with has been touched by more men than he hasn't even touched them.
Not insecurity.
No, I'm not saying it's a wrong insecurity. I'm not saying it's not all insecurities are bad. It's an insecurity from the fact of like, yeah, like that's not. He's not like that. He's not someone who's sexually promiscuous like that. So being with someone who's more sexually promiscuous as him, it's something that a lot of men cannot deal with. There's always going to be feathers ruffled.